이것이 하늘의 검!
Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Day 2 of the 2016 League of Legends KeSPA Cup. My name is Rapid, with me is LS. We are back for what promises to be one of the most evenly matched, highly contested days of competition yet.
Yeah, I mean, today's match, Longzhu versus JINAIR, probably won't be as close as the next match, Afrika versus MVP, where both teams are playing, where the loser actually will go on to IEM Oakland in North America.
So a great opportunity certainly for those teams. Our first two teams, like you mentioned, Longzhu versus JINAIR, they finished with the exact same match score last season in the summer season of LCK, and so it's going to be interesting to see who has adjusted. Of course, both teams have adjusted, bringing on some new players and some old faces that you don't get a chance to see very often. But let's take a look at our match listing today. So yesterday, ESC Ever and Kongdu Monster both took 2-0 victories over their opponents. Of course, coming up today, we have Longzhu Gaming versus JINAIR Green Wings, and of course, the Afrika Freaks versus MVP. This is the way the bracket is shaping up. ESC Ever seeded into Group A with Group B taking Kongdu Monster, pitting them against KT Rolster. Of course, Group C unfilled. Group D featuring the seeded team, the Rocks Tigers.
Yep, and I mean, today's matches, Longzhu versus JINAIR, both of them are using some new players, and looking at all of their solo queue IDs, it doesn't look like there's anything unconventional like what we saw yesterday with some of the champion picks that came out, and also I wasn't seeing any of the potential meta shifts actually showing up in their solo queue account, so it's really hard to predict how they're going to go about their picks and bans here today. And Longzhu has always been a roster with very stacked talent, but an inability to translate that into proper play styles, and almost always they just look like a team that is win lane, win game sort of a play style, and it's going to be interesting to see today if they can change that.
Now, this is the roster for Longzhu. We're not actually going to see the super brand new players, at least fielded today. Going to focus on getting that old talent out there. And of course, for JINAIR Green Wings, what's really cool for them is that last KeSPA Cup, they played a guy named Sohan top lane. He doesn't get, I think he gets like one chance to play per split, basically, but he's coming back as an old face, joining Winged, Kuzan, Teddy, their new AD carry, formerly of I believe it's Spenu, Sonic Boom, and Ever 8 winners. And of course, Che coming back playing instead of Sweet.
Yep, and I mean, their playstyle, again, going back to the solo queue thing, it will be interesting to see how they're going to go about it. Kuzan, while he's not playing anything super unorthodox, tons of control mages and support mages.
Heading on stage for a short interview. First up, it's going to be Jangsa Cam, and that is Lustboy. Lustboy said his players are in top condition. And he does feel like it's going to be a tough match because JINAIR has been preparing very hard for this tournament.
저희가 이번 경기장에 도착했을 때 천장희 코치님이 너무 행복한 얼굴로 청첩장을 나눠주시더라고요.
To add on to that, looks like JINAIR's coach Chun was very sweet because he gave them wedding invitations when they got to the stadium today. And Lustboy says, I'm going to help you out by beating you today so you can focus on your wedding. This is Coach Chun for the JINAIR Green Wings. And JINAIR Coach Chun says, you know, I appreciate the gesture that you're going to beat us so I can focus on my wedding, but I think we're going to be the ones who are beating you. I think that will be better for our team. He says we're in good condition, we have good teamwork, and we expect to have a win today. So, final words. He says, we keep running into this Longzhu team, but we're going to make sure that we beat them just like last year and progress in the tournament. And that means that we're coming over to us. And that means that we'll get a chance to hear some brief comments before we get into the game. Coming our way first.
안녕하세요.
안녕하세요. 저는 LS입니다.
네, 안녕하세요.
네, 안녕하세요. 저는 라피더입니다.
네.
다음 경기도 기대돼요. There we go.
기대가 되죠. 네.
기대돼요. 네.
네, 정확하게 말씀을 해주셨습니다. 자, 계속해서
And that is horrible Korean, but you get a chance to hear some comments from our brand new Korean casters coming in.
That's actually Kong Kui. He was on MVP Blue as the top laner.
Boy, former commentator, Nice Game TV.
Yep.
So nice to see him coming over here. I believe you mentioned that earlier. So.
He's actually one of the higher rated casters inside of Korea. Still retains his master tier rank.
All right, so now we get into our match points here. We're going to point out the superior teams and their differences between different years, saying that the rating was 1 and 4 in JINAIR's favor last year. This year, things have turned around a little bit, and Longzhu are coming out on top.
Yep, and again, going back to the playstyle, it's going to be interesting to see if Longzhu can finally have found a way to pull it together. They've had a few months now to try to formulate macro play into their gameplay, whereas before it just looked like a superstar roster that would always just fail, almost like the New York Yankees or something, every year.
Yeah, very similar. Of course, that last stat you guys just got a chance to see on your screen. Talking about game times, these two teams having the longest of those over the course of last season, so looking forward to leaning back, stretching a little bit, and settling in for not a long winter's nap, but for some great games of League of Legends. And yeah, we can definitely talk about the teams while they are talking about the new casters and sharing some nice compliments back and forth. That's going to send it back to where you can see us, our sexy little setup over here. But our games are actually poised to start, just waiting on teams to get where they need to go. And in the meantime, of course, we get to highlight not only our first matchup, JINAIR Green Wings versus Longzhu, but our second matchup as well, the Team MVP versus the Africa Freaks with a spot at IEM Oakland on the line.
Yeah, and it's actually a little bit weird that the loser gets to go to Oakland. So that's an interesting dynamic.
Well, it's not exactly the loser of the team. It is the highest rated team that does not advance to the semifinals.
Right, but it's between those two.
Right.
So it's an interesting little dynamic.
I'm just saying it the nice way.
Yeah, so either way, someone today is winning. And one of the exciting things for me was MVP was a team that towards the end of the season, I talked about this yesterday, they kept looking like they kept getting stronger and better, and even towards the end, except for a few hiccups, they almost looked like they were in contention to be one of the top teams in LCK, and they were a roster full of complete unknowns that then turned out to look like complete stack talent, even having one of the best junglers inside of Korea inside of Beyond.
Yep, so we'll get a chance to check out those teams a little bit later on, so you want to stick around for that later on in the broadcast. But for right now, we're about to head into Champion Picks and Bans for our first game of our first series between the JINAIR Green Wings and Longzhu. So you can get out there on your favorite social media, tell your friends that their favorite teams are playing, if they are their favorite teams. If not, then you need to watch so that then they can be your favorite teams. That's the solid reasoning behind that. But we should be heading into Champion Picks and Bans here any minute now. JINAIR Green Wings versus Longzhu, two very, very evenly matched teams. They were almost even in games last season. I believe they were like 3-2. And that is their new AD carry on the screen right there, Teddy. You know, I'm not necessarily sure that I would name myself after a super cuddly bear if I were out to kill people, but maybe that's the irony in his name.
That is the irony indeed. And some information on Teddy is that he loves Jin, Ashe, and Ezreal, but he does not seem to like or do very well on Caitlyn, at least going off of his solo queue results and general perception of him in Korea. So with Jin and Kate being basically the king and queen of the AD carry role, maybe we'll get to see either Jin or Ashe come out.
Certainly possible. Also a great Lucian player. I think he's got like a 60% win rate with that so far. So might see a little bit of a comeback for a champion we haven't necessarily seen in quite a while. Just waiting on testing things out, making sure that we are about to get into game. But yeah, we are going to see some new faces. And for Longzhu, we were actually, at least I was actually kind of expecting to see some of the new talent. They've got a mid laner named Justice, and of course their longtime support. His name is Zeus. It's Z-Z-U-S, however you want to pronounce that. But he actually played for them right around the time Longzhu IM made that swap. But it was a long time ago, so we haven't had a chance to see him for a while. Same thing for the JINAIR Green Wings top laner, Sohwan. That ribbon guy that kind of comes around every once in a while. I think they played him at like IEM and last KeSPA Cup, so this is a rare sighting in the top lane for JINAIR.
Yeah, and for JINAIR also, I was looking at Trace, and he had some very unconventional picks up there in top lane with Misfortune. So
I don't know about that.
He was the guy that brought Malzahar top to the LCK.
That is true.
So he's definitely not afraid to play unconventional or unorthodox picks.
If there was ever a player to fit a square peg into a round hole, I think Trace would be your guy.
Yep, Trace would certainly be the person to do that. And one thing that we might actually get to see is Kuzan's Corki in mid lane.
Where's Corki at right now? Now, these games are being played on the patch 6.21, so not the current patch that just dropped yesterday. So this is the previous patch. Where is Corki at?
I think the general perception of him, but maybe Kuzan thinks something else, is that Corki's still not really good enough and that he has a lot of bad matchups in mid lane. But obviously that can be worked around with pick bans, and if the opportunity presents itself, then there might even be possibilities for him to get in there as a counter pick or something.
Yeah, and that's really interesting. If you guys remember back to maybe this time last year for the last KeSPA Cup, AD carries were everywhere. You're starting to see them, top lane, mid lane, bottom lane. So that's not something that we're going to see, at least expectedly, this time around. But might actually have the opportunity to see them come back, like you said, as counter picks in certain matchups. So by and large, nothing too crazy has changed between Worlds and now. But what are some of the big differences that we can expect from these games as opposed to the ones that maybe the viewers watching of the last games they watched were at Worlds?
Well, I don't think that we'll probably be seeing Syndra get let through.
Oh boy.
Not in today's matches. I think that when she was let through yesterday, it was mostly due to that Zilean pick, which I actually think was really interesting because I think that while Edge did adapt fairly well to the Zilean on Syndra, always using his ult preemptively, I still think that Zilean fared pretty well. But I think that we'll have a much more cookie-cutter standard pick ban today, but there's always the chance for me to be surprised. So
lots of surprises. That's kind of what the KeSPA Cup is. If we had to rename KeSPA Cup, I think Surprise Cup or the Cup of Surprises. That's where when you drink it, it's like when you walk up to the soda fountain at a restaurant. You just put a little bit of every different soda in there. That's the surprise. Much like the surprises in the KeSPA Cup are from players, from champions. We got a chance to see some outstanding performances yesterday, even from some of the losing teams. KEG Seoul fielded Khan, their top laner, which actually just looks so cool. And today we get a chance to see some new faces in Teddy coming out. Was really hoping that we would get a chance to see the Longzhu subs come in, but it looks like they might be coming in for the second or third games. Have to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, it depends on how they want to actually approach this KeSPA Cup, and both teams were saying that they did want to win, so I don't think it's really a proving grounds or an experimental tournament for either one of them. Not that you would want to do that anyway, but there is always the possibility that they could be a little bit more open to doing that. And another player that I did see here today was actually Flame.
Oh boy.
And it is his 4th anniversary as a pro gamer today.
That is very true. If they ever put us on camera again, we'll show you guys. They actually gave us little boxes of, I guess, sweets. I haven't actually opened mine to check it out. Oh, they're little rice cakes with hearts on them. Isn't that adorable?
That's adorable, but they have nuts in them, so I can't eat it, or I'll die.
It's a clever trick. They're trying to assassinate you, LS.
Yep.
But, actually, we can just show you guys right now. We got little hearts that say happy, the 4th anniversary Flame on them. So big thanks to everybody else out there that gave us those. They have little heart-shaped rice cakes in them. So big fan of the big fans of Flame for his 4th anniversary. So had to do some quick practice testing with the client just to make sure everything was good. That has concluded, and that means that as soon as possible, we'll be getting into our first series of the night. It does look like we are ramping up that way. You know, we started to taxi down the runway. We're about to lift off, but then the tires touch the ground again, so we'll be taking off soon.
What are your predictions?
Predictions, you know, anytime you have Trace up in the top lane, you never really know what to predict. So certainly expecting a little bit of excitement there. Maybe Malzahar comes back. We did see Malzahar in the top lane from him. He was the one that debuted it. Gangplank has been a big commonality between both of our top laners here previously, but he's not really a champion that's around very much anymore, so you never know how much of a throwback they're going to do because, you know, it has been kind of vacation to some extent for a lot of these teams between the last game they played in Worlds, so it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Don't really know what to expect.
All right, well, when we're about to jump into picks and bans here, I feel like JINAIR will probably take the match today because I'm not convinced that Longzhu was able to get it together in that short time period between LCK and now, because there was also not a lot of scrims going on with high-quality teams.
We'll get a chance to find out as we head into champion picks and bans. Never understood why it was called picks and bans when the bans come first. I guess I should call it ban pick instead. To no one's surprise, it's Syndra, first banned right off the bat.
Yep. So Syndra will be taken away right away, and then that is followed up by Jace. So I wouldn't be surprised to just actually see all meta champions banned away, like Olaf, like Nidalee. I don't expect to see her make it through.
Nidalee bans, but she just got nerfed, LS.
Yeah, she did just get nerfed.
You mean the
but she's
champions that
still
get
busted.
nerfed can still be good? Oh my goodness, we're breaking the meta here. But Rise ban, there's the Olaf ban, so totally standard, very expectable bans across the board. Nidalee should be coming out here any moment now, a couple of bans left. Blue side does have that advantage, though. If you leave something super powerful up, then you can just go ahead and grab that right off the bat. So there is the Nidalee ban coming out, waiting for the last and final ban here. For Longzhu, it is the Corki. Okay, land some respect on that name. Kuzan will not get a chance to maybe pull something sneaky out of his hat.
Yeah, and it's always going to be uncomfortable when someone plays a champion that you haven't seen in a very long time in solo queue, and they show obviously a liking for it. Certainly, if you don't get to practice against it enough or in scrims, it can always cause some issues to face it in a tournament.
Hovering over Elise, certainly one of, if not the top tier jungler currently, getting it locked in there for Winged, and certainly a player that knows very, very well how to play that. Waiting to see what the first few picks for Longzhu will be. We've seen first pick Olaf before. Do you agree in the first pick Elise?
Well, the first pick Elise is pretty standard. There's only so many good junglers right now, and she is one of the best. With Olaf being gone, I think that she's pretty fine. We might actually just see Elise come out of Crash, even though the matchup isn't, you know, super favorable in some cases, depending on who your top and mid laners are, but ultimately it's probably going to be okay.
Well, there's Karma Ash, though. Yeah, what's up with that? A lot of poke, very difficult lane to get through if they are together. Of course, that could be always flexed to the mid lane.
Yeah, I think the Karma Ash is a little bit preemptive to actually target Teddy because he does love that Jhin so much, and it also, you know that he's not going to pick Caitlyn. So with that being the only, well, with those options being removed, the only other option for him to pick is probably going to be his Ezreal or Lucian, but either way, it really narrows his champion pool down, and it gives you the ability to just have a straight-up counter.
All right, so yeah, going to have that AD carry matchup, at least they do know about the Victor locked in for Kuzan. It looks like the next few lock-ins will be for Longzhu, and they'll grab that Echo and Lee Sin. Most likely a top lane Echo, although could see some wacky swaps around there. Of course, Lee Sin in the jungle for Crash. Extremely excited to see him on that aggressive pick.
Yep, and this tournament will probably be the final days of Tank Echo. I am so sad as next
He's an assassin now. Did you know?
Yep. But definitely Tank Echo is probably one of the most versatile top lane picks right now. And it is sort of a versus all against the current field of top lane champions.
Well, coming through the final two picks there at the end of the pick phase for JINAIR is going to be a Nami and Trundle. That's going to be kind of interesting. It's going to see Teddy up there, or Teddy pick the Trundle up there for Sohan, and the final pick is Leona. Yep. For Pure. All right, we were talking about new champions coming out. It's been a very long while since I saw the Radiant Dawn on the Summoner's Rift.
Yeah, it has been an extremely long time, and Longzhu Gaming, I mean, this team comp is another one of those team comps where it says we need advantages, we need to run over you, and we need to just make sure that you can't make it to the late game. Now, JINAIR Green Wings, on the other hand, they have a very standard, classic, late game-oriented team. So both teams basically showing the same exact stylistic play that they had in LCK Summer.
Really interesting already right off the bat to see similarities, like you mentioned, kind of the same styles that they played back in LCK Summer, but also getting a chance to see some new flair out there with Sohwan playing Trundle. I'm guessing this is going to be the more aggressively building Trundle rather than just straight up tankiness, because Sohwan has always been very well known as being a big carry top laner, but especially seeing Pure there on that Leona as kind of the new pick on Summoner's Rift for this game. Kind of curious to see how that's going to combo with Ashe against that Jhin Nami matchup. And that's going to take us through our pick and ban phase, ready to get on to Summoner's Rift. There you can see the lineup of the JINAIR Green Wing, Sohwan, Winged, Kuzan, Teddy, and Che, facing off against Longzhu Gaming, Pure, Fury, Frozen, Crash, and Expression on that top lane Echo. That's going to do it for our player, champion, and team introductions. So get out there, tell your friends, hashtag JAGWin or LZWin, and of course hashtag KeSPA Cup to let everybody know that you are watching today's matches. JINAIR Green Wings versus Longzhu Gaming should be starting here in just a moment. It's going to be one best of 3. Loser goes home. The winner advances to this quarterfinals coming up a little bit later on next week. So looks like we are actually going to have a couple of seconds to talk about things as we get into this game. JINAIR versus Longzhu. I know you said, LS, that maybe JINAIR would be going to take this game. Longzhu, they did have some previous issues bringing in a ton of stack talent that never really seemed to shape up.
Yeah, and one of the things I want to point out about the pick and ban and the draft is we have a red side Lee Sin. So because it's a red side Lee Sin with a Karma, who is a mana champion in the mid lane, against a Victor, there is a high possibility that Lee Sin will actually go for some sort of early aggression around level 3 and then look to hand off the blue to Karma to sort of suffocate the Victor and skew his recall timing so that he's not able to sustain in lane until he gets Hex Core. One of the other things about the Summoner spells, though, is that Karma does not have Cleanse, electing for Teleport instead, so there's just a lot of way to gain CS advantage for Longzhu, but if she does fall behind because of Elise Cocoons or Gravity Fields locking her up and snowballs occurring on top of her, it's going to be pretty hard to recover because there's not a lot of 2v2 potential.
It's going to be interesting to watch the jungle focus between both Crash and Wing. If you guys have not seen either one of these players play in a while, since maybe last season, Crash specifically has not gotten a lot of playtime, or at least as much playtime as I feel he deserves, because he has just been a monster when he gets out there on Summoner's Rift. I remember there's that, if you remember Crash, you probably remember his one Nidalee game from 2 seasons ago, where he actually just destroyed everyone. I think he like 4-buffed his opposing jungler like several times. It was actually just disgusting. He's not playing Nidalee, but he does still have that aggressive Lee Sin pick. And you know, yesterday we got a chance to see Reach on CJ Entis play 2 games of Lee Sin that just looked completely ineffective. And this time around, hopefully we'll be seeing a little bit more action out of Crash.
Yeah. So, I mean, in the matchups that he has right now, so he has Lee Sin Karma, Lee Sin Echo up there in the top and mid lane, but unfortunately, the problem with the mid lane is that Lee Sin, if he gets counter-ganked by Elise with that 2v2 dynamic, it's going to be very problematic. Likewise, the same occurs up in top lane, and it's pretty hard to coordinate ganks against Trundle, because Trundle's going to be blue side. So, possibly Crash is going to be looking to the bottom lane to sort of make things happen, because there's a lot of kill potential down there with that Ashe Leona.
Man, especially once you start to hit level 6, somebody's just actually not going to move for basically forever. So really cool to see that combo, Leona Ashe. I think Ashe Zyra was a popular combo. Now it's coming back as a popular combo just for so much lockup down there. Leona, you know, there's that brief period of time where Leona was actually pretty popular a couple of years ago, but it's been a while since she's come out there. Why is it that Leona is just not as popular anymore?
Well, she mainly fell off around the time that Morgana and Thresh were extremely popular. Morgana with the Black Shield able to deny her CC. Also, the binding makes it so that Leona basically just suicides. and you know, she can go in and then she can't get out, and she gets locked up, she does nothing. Thresh players became very good at timing the play, so Leona actually would not latch on to opponents. She just had a lot of bad matchups in the bottom lane, and then other supports just came out that did other stuff better, and then her numbers weren't always the best. She got reworked a little bit, but I was theorizing during Worlds that maybe Leona would have been viable as a delete support because of how many squishy supports were showing up.
All right, well, it does look like we are about to head into our first game of our first best of 3. Longzhu versus JINAIR Greenwings, starting right now. Great cheers from all the fans down here at the Nexon Arena in Seoul, South Korea for our first game of JINAIR Greenwings, facing off against Longzhu Gaming. Longzhu fielding a roster that I guess maybe we're used to seeing, but with champions, maybe we're not. Of course, JINAIR with some new faces out on Summoner's Rift.
Yeah, and both teams just going for a fan, and this is something that we've come to see a lot from Korean teams. No one really wanting to get too dicey early on, although yesterday there was certainly some chaos that happened in one of those games.
First game with Seoul City was a little bit action-packed, giving away that first blood. But this time around, not going to see anything too crazy early on. Just a little bit of spider damage.
Yep.
This is the scariest kind of damage to take.
So this is actually really cute by Pure and Fury, because they know that JINAIR does not have any intel further up the river, and so if JINAIR actually elects to try to harass or deny the Gromp, they could get chunked pretty hard, and that's actually why you see Frozen right there.
Backing back into their own jungle, though. That was a cool place to wait. I don't think I've ever seen champions wait there, and might have worked especially well with the Leona pick specifically.
Yeah.
But now that minions are starting to get into lane, we're going to see, oh, nice try, Frozen. Not going to be able to land the first little bit of damage. Kuzan is actually going to push it back.
Yeah, the problem with that actually is puts Leona in a pretty awkward spot already in the laning phase. So her missing that and going on the cooldown at the time that she did enabled Kuzan to manipulate the lane phase in a pretty favorable way.
Oh, you mean Karma, not Leona?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just checking. I was like, wait, Leona's bottom lane and doing Krugs, or Gromp. But either way, the dual lanes are stacking up evenly after doing their first camp chase. So low. Oh my goodness. Pure getting in there. That Sunlight actually dealing a lot of damage, but now a bubble landed onto Pure and Fury, taking so much in return. Doesn't even pop that Summoner's heal, whereas JINAIR Greenwings lose 3 Summoners right off the bat.
Yep, and that's actually a pretty big trade for Longzhu, because their bottom lane composition is one that benefits from not having summoners. So a summonerless bot lane benefits them a lot more, and because they traded so heavy early, remember, they still have the summoner heal, and they also have Targons to heal up.
Oh, so on an Expression. Expression really careful, microing that Echo in and out, getting those good trades off. Both Corrupting Potions going for now. It's kind of interesting as a Corrupting Potion. You're healing back a little bit of health and dealing a little bit more damage, but because you're both using them, it's kind of a moot point between the two of them. So very even trades up top lane. We've already got that level 2 action on the bottom half of the map, and here comes Winged and Crash down to the bottom lane.
And here's that level 3 aggression, where Lee Sin, he wants to make something happen right here, but you can see that Winged was reading it.
There it is, the flash, engage, right in onto Che, ward jump forward, Crash trying to get in onto Che, will go down. Crash claims first blood. For Longzhu, Expression forced to flash away outside of the pillar. Sohwan flashing on top of him, and even with a parallel convergence shield, Sohwan's gonna take him down.
Yeah, and so this is actually really big. So Winged, I think, accurately read the situation, because Longzhu traded early, I think intentionally, to trade Summoners so that Lee Sin would have more potency on his gank, and now we can hand off the blue to Karma to directly attack Victor.
Oh, that
in this replay, that pillar was absolutely fantastic by Sohan, and he just killed Expression. The lane is in a beautiful spot for him right now.
That pillar perfectly placed so that Sohan would, or that Expression would maintain tower aggro. It's just actually beautiful to watch Trundle master at work. Sohan holding it down in the top lane. Expression now needing to play on the back foot.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, though, Crash chose not to hand off the blue buff to Karma, which I think is a little bit peculiar because Victor was about 15 to 17 CS away from the Hex Core upgrade, so Karma could have just expended all of her mana endlessly to shove him out of the lane, and he wouldn't have had any say in that.
Instead, it does look like Kuzan will be able to keep his Victor in lane long enough to get that Hex Core, as long as there's no jungle shenanigans, and with Winged recalling back to base, maybe that's an opportunity for Crash. It looks like he is just farming it up for the time being.
Yeah. And Trundle, with that Doran's Blade and the Corrupting Potion, going to be pretty obnoxious to try and do anything against.
It'll be kind of interesting. What is the way that the kills have worked out? How does that affect things right now? Because Crash, very aggressive play style, getting that kill early. Is that really something that's going to throw JINAIR off that much?
Well, Crash getting the kill that early I don't think is as impactful as Longzhu just getting that advantage in there in the bottom lane, because it's highly likely that Fury and Pure will
bubble on to Fury while his support's away. The JINAIR dual lane will play, but now that they've returned, might have a little bit more to worry about.
Yeah. So when they hit level 6, that's when it gets really dangerous for Teddy and Shay. And that's when lane can get pretty problematic, because there's definitely going to be the potential for Lee Sin to come bottom as level 6 as well.
So we're talking about Teddy. We'll get a chance to analyze him maybe a little bit more as the game goes on. It seems like he's having a solid mechanics. He's actually doing very well on Jin into that Ashe matchup in spite of all the early aggression. He's got solid CS, almost 10 ahead. And here comes Winged through the pink ward. Knows he hasn't been scouted out. Coming around the corner, looking to get himself into this bush, which has been pink warded as well.
Yeah, and it looks like they do sniff it out, though. As you can see, the pings are going down on that brush.
Completely unscouted, though. I guess just because of the pink warding?
Well, it's not necessarily just the pink warding. There is intel that can be talked about by Crash. Relative to how mid is and how top is, it's very unlikely that Winged could be here right now because the jungle route doesn't make sense. And sometimes the routes won't make sense, and that's why they actually work, is because they might be so bad that they're good. But in this case, it's pretty easy to predict where Winged could be.
Crash now coming around the corner. Deep ward placed at that blue buff. And he's pinging the come join me at the blue buff, so might need to call over his mid laner. And it does look like Frozen is heading that way. Winged setting up and will smite the wolf camp. A helpful little wolf spirit will be able to scout things out.
And Crash does have level 6, so he has a level advantage over Winged.
Coming in, we'll land that Q. Crash, we'll see if he wants to go in on that, but probably not. Bottom lane Pure was engaging on a Teddy, decides against it, and Crash really does want to make this happen. Now, Sohwan coming down. Crash does get hit by that Cocoon, pulling back with Suspicion. Here for the Smite fight. Winged does not have Smite, and that means that Crash will force the issue with better Smite timing and take it out.
Yeah, and Kuzan even takes quite a big blow, and one of the things that isn't mentioned is he lost a few minions of experience, actually, away from Frozen.
That is going to be a difference as they do continue to level up there. I don't know if Crash is planning that Smite timing or if Wing didn't, and that really paid off. Coming up to the blue buff, Crash just takes it away. Now coming bottom lane, we'll see if he does scout this the pink ward out. Pink wards, man, what are those items? I don't know anymore. But they do still exist on this patch. They will take that out and try for a red buff steal. Crash is just all over Wing's jungle.
Yeah. Oh, that was a really nice bubble
over the wall. Some extra damage. I don't think Crash really cares about this. Oh my god, Kuzan! Literal god, LS.
He will care about that.
Away. Okay. Crash. That's a little uncharacteristic. He just mistimed his smite.
Yep. So right now, a lot of the danger lies in bot lane, as both Fury and Pure are level 6, and even if Nami has level 6, it doesn't really do enough because of the Ashe arrows.
Che only level 5 for the time being. We'll have to keep an eye down there. You can see waiting in the brush. Oh, Che. Che, be careful. Oh my goodness, this is so tense. This is like Anakin and his pod racer. This is tense. But it is waiting for Fury and Pure. They're just trying to read their movements. Are they going to go for it? Waiting for the wave to maybe push up just a little bit more. Teddy and Shay might know something's up by this point. Kind of just chilling in lane. waiting for them to get complacent. Walking up, oh, Teddy and Che do not know what's about to come their way. Pure and Fury in the brush. How long will they wait? Now Winged is here. There's the arrow right onto Teddy. Perfect solar flare, gets the double stun there, but is there enough? Teleport coming down immediately, but a counter teleport already channeled. Bubble does land onto Pure in the backline. Frozen though, is in a little bit of a rough spot. Does get the tether there on the Winged. It's gonna latch to the out comes Kuzan around the corner. Frozen can't commit.
That was absolutely beautifully orchestrated by JINAIR Green Wings. The positioning that Jin took was intentional relative to where Winged was standing to make it look like he was overextended, but that was all completely coordinated, and they knew that they could negate the majority of the damage from the heal and just managing to get away. So huge victory by JINAIR right there. They got both teleports out, they got summoners out from Fury. And that's very problematic right now, because that's not what you want to have happen in a kill lane, especially when you're a team composition that needs to get ahead.
This is what's so impressive about watching some of the best teams in the world play against each other. And while you might not think of Longzhu and JINAIR as some of the best teams, they actually just are pretty good. Coordination like that, and really getting into each other's brains and playing those mind games, really beautiful to watch.
Yep. And right now, I mean, the question's going to come, what's going to happen in, 4 minutes or so when Karma completes her Athene's on Holy Grail, and basically they need to make something happen because you cannot let this JINAIR team composition continue to scale up, and at this point, that's what they're doing, and they're even winning in CS almost across the board.
Trading up towards the top half of the map. Pure getting around for some potential deep ward coverage. Winged won't be able to clear out any wards quite there, but Mountain Drake is what both teams seem to be positioning around for now. 11 minutes in to the game, and they seem to be pretty even so far. Whoa, going in, a beautiful repel there from Winged. Slow does go on to Che. Coming down the water spout, but the itsy bitsy spider going down. Frozen takes him out.
Frozen getting that kill is pretty nice. Will continue to accelerate now into the mid game, but it's not the end of the world. However, the Mountain Drake is a very nice pickup for this team composition because that opens up the possibility to burst Baron.
Wild Dragon is going down on the bottom half of the map. Pretty uncontested there. Longzhu should be able to take that top half. Expression having some struggles with Sohwan. We'll keep an eye on this, see if Che can bubble steal it. Nope, not going to happen. Fully once, Crash, losing that red buff earlier, will not make the same mistake, and does hit that smite on to Dragon.
Yeah. And right now the game is probably going to take a temporary reset. I would be extremely surprised if Longzhu actually tried to make something else happen.
Oh, trying to engage onto Che, but it's just not going to latch. That head hit, Crash was on his way. Instead, we'll just clear out that pink ward. Okay, I thought he was actually going to ward jump backwards and try to go around the other side of the pit, but placing some ward coverage, clearing it out as well. And man, look at that Dragon area. So many Longzhu wards in there, just giving them a lot of vision on the bottom half of the map.
Yeah, and that deny recall, I think, onto Kuzan might actually result in the loss of an entire wave.
See how well Frozen can clear that out. Actually doing a lot of work clearing out wards as well as that minion wave. And yeah, like you said, might just lose this mid lane wave. Leona waiting in the wings on side.
He did get Ionian boots, so he is coming back to lane a little bit quicker than normal. But yeah, he's still going to lose a few minions, and little micro advantages like that are actually super, super important at this level of play. So very nice that Frozen was able to do that. And you saw that he even looked for the second deny as well, which that would have actually crippled Kuzan.
Kuzan kind of struggling a little bit. Doesn't look like it necessarily when it comes to CS, but he is actually, he's been close to facing some big struggles that haven't panned out that way. Speaking of struggles, top lane, man, Sohwan has just been so strong in his matchup here versus Expression. And with Wayne coming up, they're looking for the dive here. Diving Echo can be a little rough, but Expression is pretty low on mana at this point. Here we go, trying to find out who's going to take this turret aggro. It's like Winged is the one to take it early on. No, it's actually Sohwan. Expression gets out just barely alive without being forced to ult.
Yeah, and I think that their intention there was they knew that Expression was very low on mana, so it's impossible for him to use all of his abilities, lock them up under turret, stall maybe for teammates, and use ultimate. So they were able to secure his flash, which is pretty good.
And now it's Sohwan, who after having been a little too aggressive, will try to flash to survive, but it's not enough. Frozen. So much damage, even with just that Athenians taking him out.
Yep. That was a nice little pickup right there. It's definitely going to give Expression some breathing room, and they might even actually get a teleport out of Sohwan, depending on how he is looking at the laning phase. So
Certainly
nice
might. Still 15 seconds left until he gets back up. And that's actually going to help Expression out a lot, able to take that CS for free in lane, maybe even take this turret as well. Nope, not going to be able to. See, we don't have the update that shows turret health on the minimap, so didn't actually know exactly how low that turret was. We'll be able to take at least a little bit of it. Frozen returning to mid lane just in time to catch the wave.
Yeah, and it looks like he chose not to teleport, so gonna take some turret damage and potentially miss a few minions from this wave, but it's not gonna be the end of the world.
Great grenade spacing there from Teddy, which is not a joke, it's actually just true. Able to clear out the wave very quickly, and now look for a deep roam into Crash's jungle. He's got Frozen coming down to try to get his blue buff and secure it for himself, but Wing may be looking for a little bit of revenge after having so many of his buffs denied. Now Pure forced to flash around the wall.
Yeah. And we're approaching the point of the game where Longzhu and LCK Summer always looked like they started to fall apart and they became their weakest, which is the mid-game transition. And so they have acquired some leads. Most of them are on Frozen in that Karma and mid lane. But the question is going to be, are they the same type of team from LCK Summer in that they don't know how to move around the map and finish off games and rotate to objectives?
And while you were while you mentioned that their weakness was kind of transitioning through that mid game, on the other side, transitioning to late game, or transitioning once you get to late game to winning the game, closing it out, has been something that both teams have really struggled with. That's why they tend to have some of the longest game times, even when they do have leads. Sometimes it's hard to pound the last nail in the coffin. So keep an eye on how things transpire. This is a really good opportunity for us to get a chance to kind of see what the update is for both of these teams. How are they working? Ward jump over the wall. Sohwan actually positioning great, really close to the wall and avoiding. Getting kicked back in the lane, even turning it back around onto Crash.
That was actually a lot of damage onto Crash, but he'll be able to heal up, and not much is going to come from that. We have a Dragon coming up in about a minute now. So definitely both teams are going to want to conserve their teleports and play around that.
So when it does finally spawn in there, it always shows the Inferno Drake icon up in the upper right hand or upper left hand corner. So it's not necessarily indicative of exactly which Dragon will be spawning. Youmu's Ghost Blades for both AD carries, both pop simultaneously. So some beautiful music being made on the bottom half of the map, but Teddy the one dictating the tempo.
Yeah, interesting Titanic Hydra actually first coming out of Sohwan up there in top, and this might actually be because he realizes that Victor and Jin both do insane, absurd amounts of damage, and all he really needs to do, he doesn't need to be the Ravenous Hydra Trundle or the Trinity Force Trundle, he just needs to stack HP and armor and magic resistance and live through the barrage that Longzhu tries to put on in the mid-game, and if he can do that, Victor and Jin can carry to victory.
Well, he's done a great job of it so far. He did die early on after overextending to almost get the kill onto Expression with Winged, but since then has survived, has avoided a couple of ganks, and is holding his own in that lane. Does have to take care of his turret. It's down below half HP, so will be walking his way back up the top lane with those Ninja Tabby completed. Crash on his way bottom will finally be spotted out there as Pure clears the ward out. Cocoon missing, Sonic Wave as well. Both junglers on the bottom half of the map to make sure to keep it clean.
And it is another Mountain Drake, so this is something that Longzhu definitely wants to pick up because this makes a 20-minute Baron a very, very real possibility if you have both of them. So lots of cheese potential hinging on this Baron, or Dragon.
Okay, a swing and a miss there on that Solar Flare. Pure will go forward to try to hit it, and then back off. Ultimate on what is a pretty short cooldown. I think it should be about 90 seconds now. We'll see Arrow coming out, forcing a flash from Jay. Wayne actually kind of positioning forward as the front line. There's a lot of champions down here. There's a tidal wave right onto Crash. Curtain Call hitting a few targets there. There's the laser coming in from Guzan. He rotates down from mid lane. Oh my goodness, so much action, so many ultimates used, but no deaths just yet.
Yeah, I feel like that was actually a little bit of miscommunication by JINAIR. Kuzan should have activated Ghost sooner so that he could have gotten to that choke point into blue to cast the Gravity Field with Chaos Storm and Death Ray, just chunk everyone get the Mountain Drake, and then get 2 towers because Longzhu was forced entirely to recall.
Sohwan's winning the ult there just to make sure that he's able to take the turret, get out alive. That turret being taken is going to give first turret blood to Sohwan, who in a matchup where he's already going to be playing that very aggressively, it's a lot of extra gold.
Yep. And Trundle is going to be one of the pillar points of JINAIR Green Wings because he is going to be basically the primary tank that runs through Longzhu and tries to make his way onto Ashe.
And he's been able to build armor instead of magic resistance against echoes, so as soon as he gets into these team fights, Ashe is just not going to deal that much damage. Mountain Drake does go down, so that's double Mountain Drake for Longzhu, making, like you said, that 20-minute Baron a possibility.
Yep. If they can find some sort of a pick off onto Kuzan or Teddy, and then if they can secure vision around it, which as we can see on the minimap right now, that is completely dark, it's very possible to cheese with even just 3 or 4 members.
Regrouping back in base, the recall for the Longzhu duo lane. We'll see what they can pick up, and it looks like it's going to be a Zeal and Furious kit. Now, one of the things about Ashe that was changed a couple patches previously, I believe, was the way that critical strike influences her the slows. So now if you crit, it's like triple the slow, but overall, if you're just trying to get your frost shot autos off and they don't crit, it's actually going to be a little less effective. So lots of crit coming in there from that Zeal going that direction, whereas Teddy going that pretty standard Jin build, looking for Maw coming up.
I think that the Maw is primarily just because the real threats right now on Longzhu's team composition is going to be Expression and Frozen. He's not really too worried about Fury because it's very unlikely that he's going to be dueling with Fury. That job is going to be left to Sohwan, Winged, and Kuzan, whereas Jin is going to basically be the finisher or the executioner at the end of the fights.
We'll see how Teddy does perform. We've primarily just seen the lane phase, and he came out of lane phase 20 CS up, so and it's some great mind gaming and positioning coming out there as well. So A+ so far. We'll see how he combos now. His Winged is coming down to the bottom half of the map. Oh man, Fury getting locked up. The turnaround from the Ashe arrow, trying to disengage. There's the Cocoon. Hits on a Fury. Some big crits coming in as well. Fury summoner heal, turning it back around. A perfect repel to block this stun coming in, but the turnaround could be too much, especially with the TP coming in as well. But Pure's there to take out Winged. Can they turn around and continue? Che there very low. Frozen going forward, and he gets the Thunderlords for the kill. Expression ulting back out to his team, and 5 on 3 now, surviving members to JINAIR to try to defend his bottom lane turret.
Yeah, and that's a very big pickup, and this is an opportunity for Longzhu to rotate as 5 to mid lane, try to shove that turret in, zone off Kuzan and Teddy, and then make them think that they're backing up and recalling, and possibly even go for the Cheese Baron that we've talked about. I think that Kuzan's a rival to that fight. I think he was a little bit too timid, and I think he could have done a little bit more, but definitely a little too hesitant.
Yep, ultimate unused, so maybe he could have committed a little bit harder. As is Longzhu just swept through the entire bottom half of the map, cleared out all the wards, and while they haven't gone towards Baron for that 20-minute attempt, certainly doing a great job with the vision, the rotations, all looking very, very good. It's a death cap for Frozen.
Yep. Victor has the Rylai's completed, and probably we'll just see him finish up his Hexapore next, unless he really values just going into the Void Staff. But we're about to take a quick look at that replay. So Teddy actually set this up perfectly. If Che hits that bubble, Pure will die. And then it looked like Wing almost didn't trust how much damage Fury would take, and so he backed off and hesitated a little bit, and then he was just able to get locked up and he went down. And you can see Kuzan in the back here, and the problem is that Che is always going down here. Sohwan and Teddy can't really do too much, but the route that Kuzan took, he didn't arrive to the fight at the same time that he should have, and then on top of that, he was too slow with his spells and his decision making, which just doesn't really make any sense.
A little too hesitant, he chose to pass defensively, but now bottom lane, Che forced to flash. Crash now in a little bit of a rough spot, forced to disengage back to his team. There's the arrow back in on Wing. Crash still taking damage up in the front line. Here comes the curtain call and a big tidal wave as well. Crash in a really big rough spot. Kuzan there to Chaos Storm him down. Here comes the lockdown in from Teddy. The Deadly Flourish helping Kuzan secure his second kill. Some slows from the Rylai's. The Gravity Field not going to grab Frozen back, but he just can't run far enough. Even with those big Karma heals and shields, He's going down. Kuzan, 3 kills for JINAIR Green Wings.
Well, Kuzan decided that he just woke up. I think he heard what was being said. And
good job, Kuzan.
yeah, that was actually pretty well played by JINAIR. And these are the type of team fights that Longzhu can't afford to lose. They do have an insurance policy, again, inside of those Mountain Drakes, so it is easier for them to shred through Baron. But losing fights like this is the opposite of what is good. So you saw Crash was trying to set something up a little bit uncharacteristic for Crash to mess up mechanically like that onto Che, and that basically spelled Doomsday. Fantastic curtain call by Teddy, actually just attacking the angle of escape from Longzhu, and then once Kuzan arrives, the Rylai's is too strong, slowing up everyone. And honestly, I think they should have just let Leona die and try to make an escape, but because they tried to save her, it ended up meaning that Frozen would go down.
I didn't think Crash was that overextended after all of that, but the disengage path right through that tiny choke point, very beautifully well played there. Coordination from Teddy and Shay on point, and now it's Inferno Drake. Double Mountain have gone to Longzhu, but with a big team fight win like that, just catapulting Kuzan forward, it's going to be a rough job to defend this. Crash once again up in the front line, but this time he's got an entire river to run through.
Yeah, JINAIR Green Wings really, really, really want this Inferno Drake. They have Victor and they have Jin, 2 champions in the game that benefit the most from Inferno Drake, just because the scaling that it offers to them is so powerful. Longzhu, they would like it as well, but they wouldn't benefit from it nearly as much as JINAIR, and they already have those 2 Mountain Drakes. Not that that's going to take away anything from Inferno, but definitely the eyes are set on that dragon for JINAIR Green Wings.
Watching Echo run away from somebody has to be one of the most infuriating things, just because he has so much control over that the zone from the Z-Drive resonance. I don't know, man. It takes a lot of mental fortitude to just realize what's important and ignore the Echo when he's just kind of running around. Speaking of running around, Sohan is coming down from the top lane closer to this Inferno to try to secure that very important dragon for JINAIR, like you said.
Yep. And one of the issues for Longzhu right now is you notice they don't have any flank teleport wards, so having double teleport, pretty bad spot to be in.
And even with Sohan coming down, they get the dragon. He's going to give up his turret, but at this point, side lane turrets maybe not quite as important anymore.
Yep. Side lane turrets definitely don't matter as much. And losing top tier 1 turret is not really even a loss that much, because Longzhu can't do anything with that. And so now, when they're forced to group up in mid lane and start their sieges on both mid-tier 1 turrets, JINAIR is going to have a pretty enormous lead.
Well, JINAIR do have that Inferno Drake now on top of a lot of stats that it does amplify. Maybe not the greatest dragon to pick up very early on in the game, but now, especially with that Jin and Victor both piling on the damage, it's gonna look a little rough for Longzhu. Now there's the arrow onto Kuzan, no way to escape. A huge solo player on top, and it's Crash to pick up the kill. Now can the turnaround come in for JINAIR? There's the pillar coming out from Sohan, but no follow-up means Longzhu get in for the kill.
Yeah, and that is exactly what Longzhu needs to do if they want to win this game. They need to find ways to pick off members that are isolated from the rest of their team. Because if they try to take a straight-up 5v5, they're going to lose every single time.
Big poke towards the backline there from Frozen on that Mantra Soul Flare, but Teddy getting healed back up by Che. Defense successful there in the mid lane as Expression going to split bottom, followed by Sohan.
Sohan coming down to bottom lane, and right now it's at a point where Echo actually can't really do much to Trundle, and Trundle will heal up mostly any damage that Echo is going to put onto him, so there's always a real threat of losing tower. So taking a quick look at this replay right now, Che, a little unlucky with how slow the Mikhails came out, and so Kuzan had to go down, and JINAIR really weren't able to do too much, but it wasn't that big of a victory for Longzhu. They just picked up a kill onto Kuzan.
Kuzan did have flash up, didn't hit it in time, and then the lockdown perma-stun, like you said, a little slow on that Mikhails. Mikhails has a fixed travel time no matter how close you are, so sometimes it's even still just not going to come in time. Sohan did rotate bottom to match Expression and wound up taking the turret with him, so that's going to be a 2-1 turret lead here for JINAIR Green Wings. It's still a lot of presence mid lane for both teams.
Yeah, and I want to point out again that JINAIR is the scaling team composition, so the fact that they're ahead in gold does not just mean that they're ahead in gold, because there's a lot more happening in terms of base scaling and items and how the champions basically work. So Longzhu, even though it looks like they're not that far behind, they are really far behind. They're going to need some smoke and mirrors.
Trying to catch Pure out here. He is actually tanking up a bunch of that damage. I don't know if having your AD take it up is the best idea, but he didn't really take that much, so Pure gets out safe and sound, even with that Jin ult being used. And no catch there for JINAIR Greenwing. So now both teams posturing around Baron buff. And we saw that stat early on in the game about how long both of these teams' games traditionally go. Now it's Crash, the one to get caught out. Bubble following up. There's the chain stun, forcing himself to flash away. The ward jump. Crash is okay, but now Pure might be the one in trouble. Chaos Storm coming in. It's going to pop him there. Kuzan with the pick, and now Baron in JINAIR's sights.
Yeah, and Sohan and Expression, Sohan's just trading with him to deny Expression the ability to teleport into a fight. Other than that, there's really no incentive for that trade. But now Sohan's going to move up to Baron.
Oh my god, Shay.
Oh,
Wing's going to die! Oh my gosh, so close, but he's not going to go down just yet. Here's the teleport there. Winged in a little bit of a rough spot. Expression trying to find the assassination onto either Winged or Shay. They're both pretty low. Teddy down to half health, and that Baron did not go well for JINAIR.
Yeah, that was a pretty bad Baron attempt just because of where they were standing, and I think they really underestimated how much damage Karma would offer. And so I think it was a little bit over-eager of a Baron attempt. There was no reason to do that. They certainly probably could have looked to rotate mid and raise the tower. But it's not going to be the end of the world, but definitely a good deny of Baron by Longzhu.
Baron stopped, and now it's Longzhu's turn to reach themselves into the pit. Clearing things out, or at least they're trying to make sure they can. Pure a little hesitant now after he's gotten caught out a few times trying to clear those wards. And Crash as well has been a little, has found himself in some rough spots.
Yep. And right now, that was a little bit of a dangerous scenario because Teddy had not recalled and he was a little bit low on mana. But it seems like that situation has passed. And so now we see the classic JINAIR versus Longzhu.
Oh boy.
Commence.
Yeah, this is where you pull your covers up a little tighter, you tuck yourself in, you settle in for what could actually be quite a while. Now, I believe the average game time last season for JINAIR Greenwings was just above 40 minutes, like 40 minutes and 20 seconds or something along that. So, might be a little bit longer until we actually do see definitive statements made by both teams. Still pretty even in gold, although JINAIR has found themselves a little ahead, pointing out some wards off to the side. Great flank ward opportunities for Expression or Frozen to teleport in. Of course, only Frozen with his TP up right now. Oh, Fury! Could have been a little rough, but he will be sped away.
Yeah, and Dragon coming up in 20 seconds. Lots of pings on it by Longzhu. I don't know if that means that it is a Dragon that they definitely need or just drawing attention to it.
Longzhu just playing the map like a xylophone. Lots of pings. Fury, though, he's the one to get locked down. Oh my god! The explosion coming in, and Fury will go down. Now trying to find a kill behind the turret. Chaos Storm still going off, but I don't know how many ticks in that ward-like health bar Fury had, because he just exploded.
Yeah, and this is basically what I'm talking about. Longzhu can never take a 5-on-5. They can never take a scenario where JINAIR is bringing the fight to them. Wow, even had to flash away right there.
That pressure, and even without definitive advantages being had before this fight, JINAIR is just so strong that scaling, kicking in here in the late game in a way that Longzhu can't deal with.
Yep. And Expression not able to really do anything to Sohan. Okay, so it was the Dragon that they definitely needed. The pings on it were definitely because of that. So that would have been 3 mountain breaks for Longzhu, but JINAIR now
can
the one to pick it up.
Get in there. I don't think that's where you want to commit, and that's going to be secured by Wing. And he gets it. Wing maybe in a little bit of a struggle there. Took a little bit of damage, but secured the Dragon. Now, at the same time, Crash is going up towards this Baron, and I don't think his team's on the same page. He'll get out after clearing the ward.
Yeah, I think that they thought that they were on top of Vision, but basically I was going to say that Expression trying to trade against Winged is basically a waste of time, but it wasn't. He was trying to chunk Winged as much as possible to maybe influence a recall by Winged so that he could not be there for any sort of a smite fight if they were going to try to chase the Baron. So taking a quick look at this replay, Teddy has been fantastic with those snares, and then once Fury was locked up, it was all too easy to just chain all of the CCs and delete him from the fight.
Oh boy. Well, back to matter at hand. This is the standard downtime. Now, it is important to take stock of what has changed between the last time we kind of had this brief repose to now. Longzhu have cleared out all vision around this Baron area, and now they're the ones starting it out. Now, Pure did get momentarily locked down by that deadly flourish from Teddy, but with Baron so low and this double Mountain Drake's coming on in, here comes Kuzan and Shay into the pit. Who's gonna get it? It's Kuzan! He steals the Baron away from Longzhu, and it's So1 in the back line, about to get a kill here onto Pure, bops him on the head. It takes him out, along with a Baron steal from Kuzan. GBM, is that you? I don't know. He just walked up, took it away.
That has to be extremely tilt-inducing right now, and I don't know what Longzhu can really do now, because these Baron-enhanced minions and this assault that is headed straight up top lane, I don't see a possible way for them to stop it. They don't have insect potential because Crash is missing his flash. They don't really have any sort of flank opportunities. And it's all going to come down to what can this parallel convergence do.
Okay, a nice stun there on a Kuzan. Teddy forced the flash back towards the back. He's still being beset by Expedition, but he's in a 1v4, can't get out alive. The attempt at assassinating President Teddy Roosevelt not going to be successful.
Oh man, I can't see what they're going to do right now. Fury back on the fountain. This inhibitor, at the very least, will fall, but they might actually look to take it all the way. Jin still does not have ultimate backup yet, and it does look like the choice shall be to back off and disengage from this, but they're headed for mid now. They might look for 2 inhibitors. Expression is still down, he does have teleport. Jin ultimate comes up at the perfect timing.
Fury forced to actually use that QSS to escape there just from the curtain call, and 2 inhibs it is for the now Baron buff JINAIR Green Wings. What a turnaround. Nice, methodical, slow play.
There probably could have been some way to end it right there, but it would be risky, and we can just look at this again. I mean, Crash smited before it even went below 1100, which was a little bit peculiar, and so Kuzan was able to get in there and steal the Baron away. And had they gotten the Baron and just lost Fury, it probably wouldn't have been the end of the world. That would have been some way to sort of claw their way back into the game. But unfortunately, everything's looking pretty hopeless right now. JINAIR looking to extend their lead to 10,000 gold with the superior scaling team composition, and I just don't know what Longzhu can do.
I really love the rotation there from going off the Baron steal. Maybe you haven't totally planned things out because you're not planning on getting Baron there, but immediately from that into 1 inhibitor, into the 2nd inhibitor, now pressing through all the way through the bottom lane. JINAIR, one of the things that we criticized them on last season of LCK is not knowing how to close out this game, not knowing how to transition all the way through, and now it looks like they're doing a beautiful job.
Yep. This is all very good.
This bubble does force that ultimate out from Expedition, so he's going to Chrono Break away and have that on cooldown. The pressure continues. What's the best option here for Longzhu? Do they just stand at their bottom turret and try to siege? Maybe go up and clear the lanes? It doesn't seem like they have a lot of options.
The only thing they can hope for is that JINAIR basically mispositions and they get a dream multi-parallel convergence into a solar player.
Oh, Expedition couldn't make it to it! He died before he could even get in, and now Pure getting locked up there as well. He won't be long for this world. 2 kills come in for Kuzan, who after a little bit of struggle at the beginning of the game has just exploded for his team, and JINAIR will continue to crush through. The final inhibitor, the final Nexus turrets falling, and with that 10,000 gold advantage, and 1 pick after another, JINAIR Green Wings will pile through that Longzhu base and take an 11-6 victory in game number 1.
And that was a lot better than usually how they chose to play out scaling team compositions in LCK Summer. Kuzan with a bit of a shaky start to the victor, at least when it came to the team fights, but he certainly woke up a lot in the mid to late game transition, and then the Baron steal and how they converted that into advantages and raising all the structures was really well done. And this is the problem that I have with Longzhu, is they pick these team compositions that are so heavily reliant on securing early advantages, but then they don't know how to actually play the macro game once it enters into that phase, and so what's the point?
What is the point indeed, LS? Well, we'll get a chance to see what their point is, or at least what their adaptations are when we get into game number 2. Also, some potential substitutes for Longzhu coming in, as they do have those 2 brand new players on their roster. Now, KeSPA Cup is a single elimination tournament, so if you don't make it through to the next round, you are out of the tournament, and neither one of these teams, because of their placement last season, will be eligible to advance to either Intel Extreme Masters. So we'll have to keep an eye on that and maybe see what changes we have coming out in our second game. But either way, a very, very strong showing from both teams. We'll be right back with game number 2. Get out there, tell your friends, stick around, because the KeSPA Cup returns right after this.